So tell me, what you think is the right amount to pay pakurora, man? How much you think is right? Man?
Yeah, actually that one's a debate. So many people have their own amounts of mana, but out there. You know, I think it's a combination of two things. Watch and see what I think. Yeah.
Hey guys, what's up? Emmanuel Simon Sakala right here in the studio, and with me is
Mr. Matthew Manaka Dibaka. How you all doing out there?
All right, so today we're going to be talking about kurora, maroro.
Okay.
Marriage again,
bro. We had to do another marriage.
Yeah. It seems like these are the topics that really bother people around, because everyone wants to get married, almost everyone, and people are getting married out there. So my question to you, Mr. Dibok Manaka, is because I've heard a lot of people really debating about marriage. Some are paying thousands, some are paying tens of thousands, some are paying less, some are just taking for free. $200. What do you think is the right amount to pay Lobola?
Yeah, I think on that one it's pretty subjective. It's dependent on the people, definitely. But in my own view, I think I would lean back again on it's also dependent on the people, because there's some people who can afford to pay $5,000, there's some people who can afford to pay 10 grand, a grand. But I think at the end of the day is the whole point is they want the parents on both sides see that this union is fruitful and the people both want to be together. So I think the aim should be to get them together. So there'll be no sense if because usually from my experience when I went through it was your soon-to-be wife communicates with her side, your capability, right? Then the negotiations are made around your capability. I can't see a situation where the boyfriend will communicate with the girlfriend and she communicates with the family, and the guy's like, I only have $3,000, or I only have $1,000, or I only have $500. Then she goes to her family and she says he only has $500. If the aim is for them to be together, I can't see why me as a parent would say, hi, you can. All right. You get the same. If I understand the relationship, but if I don't, and I just have the mindset that some people might have, to maximize.
So you're painting it as if like the aim is for the people to be together. But my question is, do you think that's the only aim, or rather, do you think everyone has the same mindset where they are just going for people to be together? Because some people actually think that when they see Mwanaskana, they actually think, actually kudara, they would put certain amount of cows. They would So do you think the main objective of marriage is to just have two couples come together, or there also needs to be some level of compensation since you raised a girl child?
Now, I think that level of compensation mentality is a flawed way of thinking of the whole situation.
Why are we thinking that now?
I would think it's a flawed way. Why? Is because if you see your child as an investment into your future, you put a burden on your child to be that investment in your future.
But isn't that good though if you think about it? Because you're going to mold it to be something that's sellable. You won't just let her be because you see value. It's like you literally have a I don't know if I put another animal now it becomes rude, but you have something that you are raising and you want to make sure that this thing is sellable by the time it's marketed. Definitely. Won't you do everything in your power to make sure that it's perfect?
Definitely, I think you would, but eventually as you age, right, as a parent or even just as a normal individual, as you age, you lose touch with certain levels of society. So let's just assume you want to model your child to be the best version of whatever, a sellable wife to a potential suitor who's going to pay the maximum price, which will make you happy, right? You lose touch with her level of friends or social setting, unless you're going to say you're going to look for someone from your social setting.
Okay, fine, I hear what you're trying to say, that things are evolving and what we think is right during our age is probably going to be different from the other generations that's coming. But fine, the question is, does a wife material, or rather has wife material changed from when our fathers were marrying and now? Has it really changed? Because for me, when I look at it, it seems like wife material is still wife material back then and now. Because it doesn't really take much, really. Are responsible, and usually it seems like it's quite the same back then and now. Has it changed?
Changing, no, it hasn't really changed per se, but I think the factors that motivate it to exist have changed. Why do I say the factors? If you look at going back to our original thought process of what's the perfect price and trying to raise the best woman possible, and at the same time you got the maximum value from as the parent. I think those dynamics, that the mindset of it was correct for that time then. Because Mudzimai Wemba hasn't really changed of what you'd expect of a wife to be, as you were putting. But I think as time has evolved, that aspect has changed, but then the way of handling it hasn't changed. So much so that Lobola and the payment system, it made sense then of because it made sense because that's how we used to value things, and our circle was so small and our level of influence in a society was so small. But now with the level of influence your daughter can have, you can have within the society, socially, on social platforms even, it's really changed so much so that those norms that governed us as families, as groups, also need to evolve. But I see us holding on to it. Actually segues into the other topic that I wanted to discuss of, do you see the need or the importance of the Lobola squad, the photo shoot, the cakes and the whatnot? Is it really necessary? And when you brought up this point, I think you've answered my question that I wanted to ask you to say. Right. It is necessary because it has evolved. It's no longer the Kombera, like where it was like closed off. It's now more of a spectacle. So I think it's the evolution. So much so that the thought process of cows that I'm keeping as a woman also needs to evolve. Just like how the process.
So are you saying that now people should just get married without paying Lobola? What are you saying?
I'm saying now I think people should get married in a situation where your parents also understand your relationship. So much so that when it now comes to your payment as a woman, or when it comes to you paying as a man for the woman, it's a negotiation amongst families. What they want, what you want to do is join families. So I have let me say my future treasure has a level of respect for me, just like that I have for him. So much so that it's an understanding of, it's more of a mutual understanding of, I don't want to use the word love because
I get what you're trying to say, because you're saying it's negotiations, so we need to just get to a level where we both just understand mkwashane $200 isu $200 tokwanisa kuitambira tichiona mkwasha kwaari kubva nezvanokwanisa kuzoitira mwana wedu kana tawerana tadini tawirirana. But then my question after that is don't you think it was good to have a standard? A standard would force the men to work hard to get to a level yekuti anozokwanisa kuritira mwana. Because for example, let's say maybe they put kind of 10 cows and 10 cows, we're talking of maybe $3,000 and let's say ndo kusambo kwacho. The good thing about putting a minimum number, or rather a fixed number, is you know kuti mkwasha kwanza kunganza $3,000, there are very little chances of this mkwasha failing to take care of what? Of our child. But if you don't put that and you just say love leads, mkwasha oya ne mombe one, there are very high chances of this mkwasha failing to take care of what? Of the child. And I actually think these are some of the reasons why we then have dysfunctional marriages. Because pamwe mwana abva kufamily itoriwo wealthy, itoriwo nezvinhu zvakatokwana, she's used to the microwave and everything and the pressure cooker and all that nonsense. And then ororwa nemkwasha kwanza kubhadhira $300. Oenda kudeni baba wangoti aiwa mkwasha right tamufarira ashowane shungu mkwasha wedu. Then mwana goes and then mwana starts struggling. Okay. And I want to think Mana misses what she had Kumba. Is it that she's going to keep on communicating Kumba, which also destroys the family, or she looks for other alternatives, or maybe she ends up being somebody else. She's saying so I'm thinking, won't that idea of just saying let's negotiate and understand each other lead to problems, or isn't it leading to problems right now?
All right, I think I would answer that in 3 ways. The first way that I would answer it is the way of setting a minimum. To a certain extent, I would definitely agree with it. But I think it comes back to the story of the carrot and the stick. To say either we can motivate you with the stick, or we can motivate you with the carrot. Then also now, to explain that one a little bit further, when I'm saying motivate you with the stick is the standard. To say the stick would be the standard. Say, I'll send But then with the carrot would be a situation of, if you build a character that's worthy of my daughter, then you can marry my daughter, regardless of how much money you are holding. I think that would be the carrot in my example. So I think it's as a society we can choose a motivating factor. But then again, also going to the point that you're talking about of, if a girl who comes from a wealthy family, right, marries into a guy who's also not so there, which is normal. Kune solar system,
She drives to town, yeah.
chipipipi or chikombi, 5 rand type of situation, right? But there she was used to driving in town.
Yeah.
I think there also is also a break in the two characters, in the sense that if you find a girl who accepts a guy like that, then probably dysfunctional to a certain extent, because why would she aim so low?
Well.
Wait, let me finish. Why would she aim so low to a point that she can predict? Because here, let's assume you raised a competent girl who can make good decisions for herself. And now into the future.
All right.
Think about it like this. Let's assume you've raised a competent girl.
Mm-hmm.
What you'd expect her to do is to make decisions for herself now into the future that are beneficial to her.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd expect with the level where I'm coming from, I don't think this is the right match for me. And right there, that ability to choose goes to the parents' ability to be able to instruct and help her choose. To get the sense, same face where I was swing his parents saying they didn't give me the capabilities for me to live in this society. So I think kana atongo kono mkushara momo, and she chooses a guy who's financially, who she can predict into the future, reasonable future. And she fails to adjust. Then the parents know vakatotadza. So these characters cannot be used in our example because they're already dysfunctional.
Okay, fine. Can I say this? I hear your point. I hear it. But can I say this? I remember in one of the episodes that we talked about, you said the hypothalamus develops till the age 25, 20 something, 25. And you realize people get married before that.
Definitely.
And clearly that means this girl hasn't even fully matured in terms of reasoning and everything else. So I think back then they used to have the parents and the relatives judging for this kid because they knew kuti iye ega akwanisi. Hence the putting of some of these datum lines like Mario yotoda mwembe zakati toda chakati kana watadza mkwasha udini haukwanisi.
But don't forget, from what you're saying, they had to put these things and they had to think for it because it hadn't developed right. Meaning to say they didn't have the science to know that this is not even the right age to marry per se. Certain ages.
So are you like sticking on to the fact that girls should get married past 25? Is that
not necessarily past 25? The advantage also is that women age a little bit faster mentally than men. So for them, they could reach.
But the hypothalamus we Google together, bro. It only develops past that age.
Yes, definitely. It deals with the regulation of emotions, right? And risk, how you deal with risk. Definitely. And as you see, even at a young age, girls handle risk a little bit different than men.
All right.
Definitely. I'm not saying that hippocampus would have developed if it's the hippocampus.
Whatever. We'll correct in
post. But let's say if it had developed right, I wouldn't know the stats, but just from anecdotal information, girls usually take less risk than men at any age group.
Because here your point was if the child won't be able to make the decision on their own, that means the parents have already failed. Otherwise, in a perfect situation, the child should just make a good decision, and regardless of the parents coming in and saying that's your point. And you're actually saying there's no need for any help.
No, I think definitely the help is needed, but I guess what type of help would be the best?
It cannot be monetary, because usually money, like a business deal. Before you get in a business deal, it's not really about emotions or the way you think. Most of the times, it's your ability. Even tender, you apply a tender. Usually they just say you need to have a bank balance of 50,000 or 15,000. Apply. If you don't have that, see you. It's simple like that. And it's not even discriminatory. It simply means if you don't have the money, you cannot handle this tender.
You know what? I would totally agree there. And I would even say that's where it also falls apart for us in Zimbabwe when we do our tenders in that way.
All right. That's actually a wrong way of doing tenders.
That's actually a wrong way of doing tenders. Not a wrong way. Like wrong seems my answers. No.
All right.
I think it's a flawed way. It doesn't necessarily make it a bad or good. It's just flawed. I think it could be actually better. Hence it's flawed. You can make it better. That's where I'm coming with. So yeah, with the help part, power tower and so I think yes, I don't doubt about it. And you know where Rubatsiro comes from. And I think the parents need to realize that at the end of the day, these are both children. They are children on either side. Sakana machito batsiraka. they should be able to help even financially. Though that's the help they should be able to say, Mkwasha we are $300. Yes, man, we don't have a lifestyle. No, Mkwasha to go with a certain business deal, with a loan, with the something, because
only provided if he is actually able.
The character. No financial about even when we do our tenders. I think the character really matters, because think about it like this. What we call business in Zimbabwe today, it goes on my longer series that I actually want to do called Business is Culture. Yeah.
All right. On Tribesman Financial page on TikTok.
On TikTok, yeah. I'm thinking of doing that series. So yeah, when we think about business per se and how we view business in Zimbabwe, I would like to assume that we had a certain way of doing business before the white man came with his way of doing business, because his way of doing business came along with machines. And when talk about something that's machine driven, it's systematic. It's like you start with this, you do this, and this is the result. So even if you're setting up a machine, you expect to see a glass that looks like this, right? So you set it up in a way, then you tweak it, right? But I think when we didn't deal with machines, the culture is different. So much so that we took part of that culture and we never appropriated the rest of the culture. You say the part of the culture that we took is the systematic way that they'd left, right? And that already exists. But then we never appropriated the culture, because if you look at most of these people when they came here to do the business, it's mixed with their culture, and their culture is a culture where Mr. Jones, Mr. Ningi stays there, he's the plumber, he's the whatnot, and you all meet. It's a type of society where they know each other. Like, you need a lawyer, let me call Johnson. You need let me call this guy. You get the sense. Obviously, with us, it's not so. It's there, but for them, their culture was tied to their integrity, their name. How could you say that about my family name? They would literally have jewels that you just said my father was a robber. I would say let's meet in the street to pick it up. You get the sense. So I think the whole business, the way of doing business, was built on character and built on systems. So much so that when we adopted, we just took the systems and we forgot the character.
So here we have just segued into the tender ones.
Yes, we've segued into the tender ones to say, yes, the way we handle tenders. I think businesses should be really evaluated on the directors. Who are the directors? What do they do? What have they done? They say they want to operate in Churumans. What can they bring besides just the money? What characters do they have? Where do they frequent? That matters. Who do they know within that city?
Okay, so even gliding on that point, which brings me to think that Lobola shouldn't just be about the money.
Yes.
Because now it's possible on the other side of the coin that someone could bring enough money that is actually satisfactory to the parents and the child and everybody who's involved, but maybe their character is not really what would build a good family.
Definitely.
So what should people do about that aspect now, character evaluation? Because usually when people meet from Malobolo, everyone is down to earth and and everything like that. I even know some people but no one really could tell it. Everyone this guy is actually married and his kids. He's actually marrying you for the second time. And you didn't know about it. That means no one evaluated. But what can people do about that issue of character?
And I think, again, going back to the point that we'd segued into, to say we borrow certain things, right, from certain cultures. The marriage part on the evaluation, I think the best way to borrow is something that I think a lot of people are finding difficult to borrow because it's not part of our culture. It's like totally far from us. So much so that borrowing seems as if and it's dating. Where Mkwasha comes, Kumba,
anditi asati aroora
you unotoaona vachidanana, they have dinner, he comes over, that thing the white people what we would see on TV.
Vanozoita masleepover manje varungu baba varipo.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I said.
Hey, Deborah, you can sleep with your spouse in the other bed.
That's what I'm saying. We don't need to appropriate the whole culture. We can borrow certain things. And I think that's how we evolve as a people. We borrow from Shanda. And I think Shanda is that getting to know Mkwasha. And once, think about it, as you as Mkwasha, you having dinner with the rest of with the whole family, Mangwana at 6 p.m. Make sure you come through. Game. You do one dinner, two dinner, the next time I'll chat to the queen. But if you're really serious about it, you're just not out there just putting as one baby. You're not to ingratiate yourself into the family. you really make an effort. You really
Alright.
try and know people. You really try and connect. That connection now will be the evaluation. That's what we can borrow from the white people.
So we should evolve to having more conversations with our children, spouses, or potential spouses before the relationships graduate.
Definitely.
Unlike the times that we used to just meet pama roboro kana kuti just during the final times, chat. Something like that. We should move away from those things because they are dangerous.
Yes,
because I've had several situations that I've heard of, especially even and no one knows about it. And the funny thing is, most of the times the relatives of the person who is marrying, they actually know, but they just support their brother and uncle. I don't know why people do that. It's really cruel.
It's so funny. Like you find with situations like that, like the ones I usually read in the newspaper, you find the guy goes with his 3 friends, relative, and the other side of the family, they're not questioning why apana sekuru, apana, it's just 3 random guys. What I let our daughter go because he came with 5 grand, he came with 10 grand. Man, I
so yeah, I guess maybe the answer is, like you're saying, it's not really about the amount per se, but it's about both. I think it's about both. It needs to be an amount and a character. Then he tone out. Because you cannot come with empty-handed. That shows disrespect. Because there's effort and even capability of so I think there has to be some level. And because it makes sense billionaire. Obviously, it's hard to impress a billionaire.
That's an African movie right there.
Because obviously you struggle with this lady, even ukawa impresa, but mwanae uchamtambra naye because you cannot keep up with the demands. And unless walk to no godama kuna baba zakari baba ndo business. And then you cease to be a man. Exactly. You're just that guy arugo shandiso. So the ball is in your courts, guys. I mean, there was a guy whom I heard on the radio. I said, why won't the government come in and just gazette a certain fee for my Lobola?
No, that would be critical. That would.
What's my Lobola? You don't know for $1,000 or Zig equivalent.
Alright. It reminds me of the guy who was beaten to death. You heard that story? He went with $30.
Jesus.
Okay.
Sorry.
I offend my political connects. For real though.
It's quite kind of justified. Was that guy alright upstairs though?
But no, think about it like this. No,
don't even use those guys as an example. Those guys are making $5 per day or even more, earning more than most of the people around.
No, let's say Shana Pick and Pay.
Man, okay, fine.
Pick and Pay.
Let's say Aushande, alright. Let's not give us like people's examples as if like those guys are the ones that.
Okay, sorry, fine. Hey, I think we need to edit that on for real. So let me take it from the top. Let's say you're a guy who doesn't have a job, you're not employed, and things are really tough for you, right? And all you have is $30, right? But okay, fine.
Because you know what by the time you're not kuno.
Unfortunately, it was wrong to kill him.
Yeah, to kill but $30.
That was wrong. But $30, I think it's better to go with nothing.
Yeah, what's up with our relatives really? Because that's where they're supposed to kick in obatsira mfana. Woenda naye voti mfana achibata uchiro 100, 120.
True.
$30, bro. Like that's like what? 5 beds. Like have chicken.
There on that one.
And they can get him boots. I think
it's like $50.
But yeah, so that's what's up, guys. Tell us what you think in the comments, and from us, bye bye.